Howdy, 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 my name is Nachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read Prequel, or Making a Cat Cry the Adventure. Hopefully, it works this time. Last time I recorded this video, the video just decided to not, so I had to do it again. In the last episode, we beat this big goblin dude, and Rogero was completely useless. Boop. The devil on your shoulder said, "Find Rogero, then politely rip her a new asshole!" Okay, no, that's... as much as you'd like to go find Rogero and at least have a stern discussion regarding the whole lock you in here with a monster thing, you have bigger fish to fry. You remind yourself that your top priority is still breaking into the Mages Guild so you can steal back your stuff, complete Quillweave's courier job, and prove, once and for all, that you were capable of accomplishing simple tasks without messing up. You might have gotten a little sidetracked, what with all the robberies and nightmares and fighting magic users, but your primary goal is still to get that package back to Quillweave. You're gonna get into that guild hall as soon as possible, no matter what it takes, even if it entails ignoring something you'd like to do or doing something you'd rather not. 1, 2, 3. Sean wrote, okay, now you don't have a choice. Now you don't have a choice. You need to use the intestines. Just check if they're firm and hoist yourself down. I believe in you. Holy shit! Absolutely nothing about this was a good idea. It turns out it's actually pretty hard to remove something's entire intestinal tract with your bare hands and fashion it into a usable rope. The longest intact piece of intestine you got out of this is about 3 feet long, the whole attic smells like a slaughterhouse, and you kind of feel like you desecrated a corpse in some way divine figures would disapprove of. The only solace you receive from this action is the knowledge that you very briefly dismissed it as stupid before trying it now. You guess you'll try a different approach? First Lieutenant Obvious wrote, use telekinesis on the huge hinge pin. Sense Uncommon wrote, use telekinesis to take apart the hinges. That voice in your head wrote, unscrew the hinges with telekinesis, maybe that'll work. The hinge pin is easily accessible, but like you said, it's pounded in there pretty hard. Your telekinesis isn't particularly strong, nor very good at rotation. If it was, you'd have like an awesome looking magical spinning barrier around you. Constantly. Your best bet for disassembling these hinges is to find some proper tools or something else sturdy and pointy you can use to tap the pin out. The kid wrote, what's that tool on the floor there? Can you use it on the door? Those are calipers. They're basically pliers that are too fragile to use for anything more intensive than measuring something's length. And like, people can see lengths. You don't know why someone would want a tool for it. I recently found out that calipers is a running Sheogorath based gag in the Elder Scrolls series, because I've learned a lot more about the Elder Scrolls series than I knew when I started this. Like, when I started this, I didn't know nothing about nothing. I didn't know why the lady was called the Daedric Prince. I understand many more of these things now. Ha 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 ha! But anyway, Gloomy wrote, what about the hole the imp made when it dropped down from the roof? Could you get up there? The imp didn't drop down from the roof, it was just hiding up in the ceiling rafters. Even if there was a hole in the roof though, you need some sturdy rope to get up to it, and then once you're up there you'd be on the roof and need even more rope to get down. Really, you're not feeling the whole get on the roof thing. Alex wrote, Katia, hey, cat, know what gets people's attention? Levitating corpses outside their window. Da wrote, seriously just chuck the corpse out the window, use it as a landing cushion. That, on the other hand, you guess you could see working? Other than the bony bits, the dead imp is starting to get kneaded into a fairly soft cushion. The biggest challenge would be getting it through the window, since it's pretty large and too heavy for your telekinesis. Also, landing on it will make a huge mess, but that's starting to matter less at this point. Langway Booze wrote, see if you can use that huge sheet covering those boxes as a long enough rope to climb down. Also, what is in those boxes? More rope? Raggedy wrote, okay, so, ignoring window versus door, what the heck is under that cloth thingy near the imp? Maybe there's something that'll help you out. Or maybe you could use the cloth itself to whip up something that'll work well enough as a rope. Zapzia wrote, use telekinesis, ride that tarp covering those boxes like a flying carpet. That's my elbow. Ouch. This linen is pretty thin, badly burnt in places, and soggy with blood. You might be able to twist and knot it into an okay rope if you doubled it over, but at that point it will be getting pretty short. You could try flying on it like a magic carpet, but your telekinesis isn't really strong enough to lift your entire body weight, or broad enough to hold an entire piece of cloth in the shape. It will probably be more like holding yourself in a giant sack that slows your fall slightly, assuming you didn't just rip through the bottom and come crashing down in a heap. As for the crates themselves, if the first one's any indication, they're just full of house supplies. Plates, candle holders, that sort of thing. It's probably nothing that will be useful to you, and most of the stuff in here is already cracked and broken, probably from all the magical explosions going off nearby. Looks like this hand mirror made it out okay, though. That's 7 years of bad luck you don't have to deal with. Luck probably isn't real anyway. Anyway, most of your ideas for getting out of this room are complicated, horrible, and probably going to end in grievous personal injury. Maybe this is one of those instances where you need to think like a witch hunter and find the simple, direct solution nobody would think of, like an easy, magical way to push your telekinesis through the silver lined door, or pass yourself through the floorboards, or... Gallade wrote, just yell for them and say everything is dead. Would that work? I think it would. Ignatius Noble wrote, just try to call for help. Action Recommender wrote, call for help? You stomp on the floor and call down that the imps are all gone and that you're locked in the attic. Also, please bring a clean towel, like, preferably one you don't care about. Sweet ass fucking mother of Talos, the shopkeeper says. You quickly explain that things got a little out of hand. First, it turned out there were 3 imps roosted in here instead of 2, and then the last one was 10 feet tall and knew all the fire magic. You're sorry for breaking her, like, everything, but you weren't exactly expecting to have to fight a giant death monster one-on-one. Uh-huh. So, from the way this spear looked like it was specifically to bar the door closed, the shopkeeper says she's going to assume that your friend's story about leaving you her weapon and expensive summon Storm Golem scroll while she ran to get her poisons was complete bullshit. Whoa, you say. She told you that she said, no! She didn't do any of that! She's just a fucking jerk who ran and locked the door behind her as soon as stuff got bad. Scrubsberry Swirls wrote, make a mental note to slap Regier in her hypocritical face once you get down. No, better idea. Put it in the quest log. Done and done. You also whisper a quiet thank you to the silver lined door for keeping you from telekinetically removing that spear, not having to prove your side of the story is a real silver lining here. Oh wow, that pun is amazing. You wish the shopkeeper knew enough context for you to say it out loud. You turn your attention back over to her. The initial shock of her decimated storeroom seems to have worn off, and she's now making an audible list of damages. She notes that most of the food is burnt, the cloth rolls have been reduced to scraps, every single mirror seems to be broken. On the bright side, at least her surplus rope, grappling hooks, and climbing harnesses survived unharmed. She knows the two of you agreed to 10 septas to cover any potential damages, but this is a lot of damage. Essentially everything she had in storage is burnt, shattered, or soaked in an inch of blood, and that wasn't exactly something she budgeted for. On the other hand, you basically did fight the king of all imps in here, so it wouldn't be... Sounds like we're going to talk about business, you call up to her. You're pretty sure the two of you should be performing these sorts of negotiations out here at a counter, like proper for professional business people. Anyway, she reiterates, there's a lot more damage than she anticipated. Granted, she hasn't realized the imp problem had been that severe, or she would have had the fighter skill deal with it sooner. Hell, if they'd known how bad it was, they probably would have asked for more than 200 for the job. You ask if she's trying to change her mind, change her end of the bargain? No, she says, a deal's still a deal, but if it's all the same, maybe you consider letting her pay you with something from her stock rather than raw gold? It'd be less of an impact on her financially, and it already sounded like you were looking to turn around and spend the reward here anyway. Well, you admit that was the plan back when you thought you were going to be walking away with about 40 septums after giving Regier her cut and paying for the magical scroll? 170 is more than you've ever had to your name at any given point, though, and you aren't even sure what sort of things people would, like, spend that on. You ask her what it was she was planning on paying you with. Maybe more scrolls? That depends entirely on you, she says. Was there anything in particular you were looking for? You, mentioned that you could use a new outfit. Your current gear is kind of noisy, cumbersome, and as of a few minutes ago, brightly colored. And you'd like something a bit sneakier. Not that you'd use it to steal anything, of course. You'd just like to avoid any more unwanted life or death fireball exchange with people who actually know what they're doing. The shopkeeper nods and says she understands. The best confrontations are ones you can avoid. If it's stealth you're looking for, actually, she might have just the thing. Every few years or so, the town will get a traveling hedge mage passing through looking to offload a bunch of stuff they made as enchantment practice. It's rare these days, what with the rising price of mage tallow candles, but when one shows up, she'll usually snag a few dozen bits of magic clothing and jewelry. Isn't enchanted clothing usually worth, like, tens of thousands of septims, you say? You've seen it for sale on the guilds back in Hammerfall, and the prices were never exactly in the 170 septim range. Those are probably professional guild-produced pieces, she explains. Most of what she gets from private enchanters are little things like a linen skirt that makes you jump a few inches higher, or a wool hat that clears up nearsightedness. The soul-powering enchantment is usually something weak like a rabbit or a wild boar or whatever else the enchanter had been hunting for dinner. Like she said, most of what she gets are practice items. Quick things made to help the enchanter work out flaws in his or her experiment, or her technique. The piece she has in mind for you, though, is more of an experiment. An experiment? As in, a magic item with a caveat. Technically, it's probably worth more than 200 septims, the shopkeeper says, but she's been sitting on it for years without a buyer. The enchanter who sold it called it the Cloak of Grey Tomorrow. Long and short is, it's an invisibility cloak. A powerful one, too. Last time she tested it, the spell lasted almost an hour. An hour? That would be more than enough time to escape from all sorts of danger while doing perfectly legal activities. Why wouldn't something like that sell? That's where the caveat comes in, she says. While you're invisible, everything is fine. And the cloak is amazing, but as soon as you deactivate the enchantment, take off the cloak, or otherwise stop the invisibility spell, though, you go completely blind. Like, forever? Nobody will use a magic rag that makes them go blind forever. No, you just lose your sight for as long as you were invisible down to the second. The longer you stay invisible, the longer you can't see afterwards. And by the time your sight comes back, the invisibility spell's recharged. Does that make the enchantment use less magic up? Pairing a good thing with a bad thing like that? No, the shopkeeper says. I'm pretty sure it just makes the cloak require twice as much power as it would otherwise. Hell, an enchantment that strong probably took thousands of septims worth of materials to make and needed a Daedra soul to power it. Google, shut up. Nobody was talking to you. Stop it. Sorry. I asked the enchanter why anyone would waste that much on an invisibility cloak that blinds you, and she just said, seems fair that everyone else should get to be invisible too. Look, Sigrid did a lot to show me and the others in town that magic wasn't all bad, but frankly, mages are weird. Every single one of them. Katia, weigh your options. Or Katia, weigh your options. Apparently Alvin, don't buy the cloak. Chances are the invisibility will just wear off on you at the most inconvenient moment, leaving you blinded halfway through your perfectly legal activities. Shadowsun wrote, take the cloak. I mean, it's not like you aren't used to dealing with the fallout from your escapades anyway. I mean, the amount of trouble you could get into while blind could hardly be worse than the stuff that has already happened to you, right? What's the other commands? Mataznik wrote, give up the cloak. It's better to ask for money, that you have enough to purchase new books for the Quill Weave. Warning. Well, on the one hand, this magic cloak is basically the textbook definition of backfire disastrously. Long-lasting invisibility might increase your chances of getting into the Mages Guild unspotted, but if anything at all goes wrong during the break-in, like you take too long or Sigrid wakes up and dispels your invisibility somehow, the cloak is only going to make things 1,000 times worse and probably shatter any hope you had with salvaging the situation or even escaping alive. And on top of that, this is a general store. You could just as easily use your earnings to get some quieter, darker colored clothes and maybe even that short invisibility scroll in case of emergency. It would certainly be more reliable than some finicky magic cloak made by an eccentric enchanter. On the other hand, though, a fully fledged invisibility cloak would... Now, on the other hand, you don't actually have to go through with the break-in at all. With Rozier out of the picture, you just earned 170 septims. That's enough to buy a new copy of the book you ruined, stay at the end until Acetone comes back, and a return to Quill Weave having accomplished absolutely everything she sent you to Kavash for. While the shopkeeper might want to pay you in store credit, she stood by her bargain thus far and would probably give you your payment in raw gold if you asked for it. You could just walk. Sure, it wouldn't be glamorous. There'd be no big triumphant return where you reveal the Quill Weave that you've gone above and beyond her simple courier job and are able to pay her back for all the damage you did to her home. You'd be costing the shopkeeper a lot of money. holding her to your original agreement even after destroying her entire storage room. And Sigrid, well, you leave her be and just become another one of the many people she was able to rob and abuse without consequence, but in exchange for these things, you could succeed! For the first time in your life, you could make it through a simple, stupid job without fucking it up by trying to make everything a little better. Wolf wrote, "Be careful with that cloak, press for details. Is that invisibility or chameleon? If it's just invisibility, it'll stop working as soon as you steal something or hit someone." Spy wrote, "Wait, is it invisibility or strong chameleon? Because from what I remember, invisibility breaks when you perform an action like opening a door, whereas chameleon stays active no matter what you do. Although I'm not sure how it would come into play with enchantments." Mouse wrote, "Maybe now would be a good time to learn to counteract the whole blindness thing. Ask if the blindness can be cured at a temple like a curse." I'd like to know more about the cloak, please. Like, what type of invisibility spell does it use? I remember there being a few types, some breaking easier than others. The shopkeeper nods and says it's a good question. From what the enchanter told her, it's the sturdier type of invisibility. What's it called? The one that makes a tight suit of light that bends around your body? She can't remember the spell's name, but she distinctly recalls that it's not the traditional invisibility spell, which just creates an easily shattered illusion that the place you're standing in is empty. Well, okay then, what about the blindness, you ask? You said it lasts up to an hour, depending on how long you stay invisible. Could a healer or a potion cure it ahead of time? Will the blindness take effect immediately if the cloak falls off or something? And if I'm an astronaut, could I possibly resist the blindness? The shopkeeper admits she hasn't tested the cloak too extensively. She might be living in Cyrodiil, but this deep bend magic stuff still gives her the heebie-jeebies. To answer your questions though, first time she tested the cloak, she had a healer on hand for emergencies. Traditional healing spells didn't do anything for the blindness, but Oleta did manage to chip away at its duration a little with dispelling magic. Taking the cloak off seemed to trigger the blindness the same as deactivating the spell any other way would. And as for Atronachs being able to absorb the blindness, she's not sure. She's only ever known a few people born in the Atronachs a month, and the last of them died of old age years ago. Basically, back when Inn started giving out free condoms on Heart Day, your kind instantly went from half the new births to none of the new births. That makes sense, you guess. You confess you've only ever met one other Atronach, and he was long dead too. The shopkeeper asks what you mean by was long dead. You say it's complicated? It's a thing. Docbot wrote, "Ask if the cloak affects stack if you rapidly use it." Spirit of the Sea wrote, "Ask, may you make people blind by putting the cloak on them telekinetically." Appleoff wrote, "This cloak requires some field testing." So, if someone were to say, wear the cloak for 30 minutes, take it off and put it right back on, would the invisibility reactivate for the rest of that hour while they were blind? Could they spend the next 30 minutes blind and invisible while the cloak recharges the first 30 minutes? After they repeat the process, near permanently invisible but spending every other half hour blind? Alternatively, if you wore the cloak for 40 minutes, then put it back on to become blind and invisible, would the 20-minute blindness merge with the 40-minute blindness such that they're invisible and sighted for 40 minutes, invisible and blind for 20, and visible and blind for only 20 minutes more? The shopkeeper explains, again, that she hasn't tested the cloak too extensively, let alone that pathologically. From what she's determined, though, when the cloak blinds its user, it turns completely inert for just as long. Even if the invisibility spell was deactivated early, any attempts to reactivate it won't work until enough time has passed for that blindness to have worn off. So, crazy plans to circumvent the enchanter's weird caveat probably won't bear fruit. Is that everything? No, you say. You apologize for all the questions. You think you're about to do something really stupid, and since there's pretty much no talking yourself out of it, you're trying to come up with an approach to it that's as unstupid as possible. So the vibe you're getting about this Cloak of Grey tomorrow is that it's not too dangerous if it's used in short bursts, so you can get to a safe place and let it recharge, as opposed to trying to get everything done in one go and having it blink out on you as soon as an hour is up. What about offensive uses? Could you, like, telekinetically throw the cloak over someone and then pull it off a few seconds later to blind them? Okay, the shopkeeper warns, you're getting a little too far into mage thought now. If you want to blind someone in a fight, you throw a regular sheet over them. That way they're instantly blinded. You don't have to worry about an angry, invisible aggressor. Oh. Right, you say that you forgot that was a thing too. Any other questions, she asks, or are you ready to make your call on the pavement? Can I try it on? She points out that "can I try on the invisibility cloak" is one of those lines they very specifically warn students about in Shopkeeper College. Do you trust me? Well, worst case scenario here is that you silently accept your payment for the imp job, leave, and she can go to bed. Anyway, she supposes it makes sense that you want to get a handle on the cloak's nuances, make sure it's something you can deal with and all that. Obscure wrote, a screw-up of a magic cloak for a screw-up of a hero. There's something delightful about that, don't you think? You half chuckle. Please, you say, you're no stranger to weird magic. You just want to make sure it still works. For an invisibility cloak that's actually within your budget, you're pretty sure you can handle whatever weirdness this cloak of gray tomorrow throws at you. Macan wrote, ooh, different ways it could look. Nick Taken wrote, the cloak of gray tomorrow, scarf plus hood for secondary disguise, closed eye emblem, sneaky kitty paws. Cloak be hideously colorful. Oh, what the fuck? This isn't even gray. What is this color scheme even called? It's like festive holiday disaster. Well, it's called the cloak of gray tomorrow, the shopkeeper says. The implication isn't necessarily that the cloak is gray, but that tomorrow is gray. As far as she figures, the name makes sense. Sure, it makes technical sense, you say, but there are still rules of good taste when it comes to naming things. If you're gonna put gray in something's name, you can just carry that theme halfway and then dump it by the side of the road. She shrugs and says, you don't have to call it that if you don't want to. It's not like it's written on the cloak anywhere. Maybe it's called gray because of that particular silver lining? What? The shopkeeper asked. It was a joke, you say, like the fact that you can change his name as a silver lining and silver is like, you know what, never mind. Everything about this joke was a disaster. But seriously, I was kind of hoping it'd be dark gray or something, so it'd be a little less obvious if I have to hide in a corner, blinded, waiting for the invisibility spell to recharge. The waiting periods with this are going to be kind of tense, though. You have, like, maybe a book I could read? A book to read while blind, the shopkeeper deadpans. Maybe something in night writing, you ask? You can read the basic type in some of the level 2 stuff. It's kind of something you pick up when you have extremely fickle and self-destructive magic powers built into your eyeballs. Honestly, nobody's ever asked before. She vaguely recalls a traveler once pawned one here, and can't remember anything about... remember anyone ever buying it. She'll check see if it's still on the shelf. So how do you, like, turn it on? The hood, she calls over to you. Flip it from down to up. Whoa, that's a weirder feeling than I was expecting. The blindness makes everything turn black, though, not gray. That name was really just fucking awful. Better than a festive holiday disaster, she says. So you get with the cloak as payment for the imp job? Alina wrote, well, assuming you don't plan to strip while wearing the cloak, you still have some janky-ass armor that you need to replace. Either see if the shopkeeper has a spare set of clothes, or inquire as to where you can get some new threads. It's kind of growing on you. Yeah, you think this might actually work. You're still looking for some new, quieter clothes, and we're serious about maybe getting a book to read, if that's something she could throw in her... Throwing in isn't her style, she says. Go for the ore. Or barter for, right. Well, she's got a nice low-key outfit in what looks to be her size. Anything else you were looking for, assuming it's not a mirror, she could probably scrounge up for the right price. You do have some things to sell, you say. At the very least, you want to get some basic, danger escaping supplies, like a center punch. A center punch? Did you just change in front of me? The shopkeeper asks. Yes, you admit, but it was like really fast, so it wasn't weird, right? No, she says, it was still weird. Okay, trade. Lucia wrote, where did your arms go? Huh? Your arms are right here. They were just hidden behind your cloak. It's not like they disappeared. Alaskan Wolf wrote, trade imp gall, intestine, and or ruined gloves. Hopefully they'll be worth enough to get something useful. Her stock has been ruined after all. She needs to restock and diversify. Vera wrote, imp gall is worth at least 1 septum, right? And this is extra big, right? Anyway, you're on a time limit here, so you tell the shopkeeper you'd like to get this finished up as soon as possible. You have a few things that might interest her, and should hopefully be enough to pay her for the clothes and get you outfitted with some basic supplies. Right, she says, it's late, she's tired, and she wants you to get out of here too. Let's see what you've got. First off, these lovely dead imp parts! You took everything that looked like it could be kind of useful? You figure maybe someone could use the intestine bits to make a pair of socks or sausages or... Okay, no, the shopkeeper interrupts. She appreciates the whole making a good sale thing, but you're laying it on kind of thick. Also, if she wanted imp intestines, she's pretty sure she has an entire storeroom plastered in them. The green bits, though, they could fetch a nice decent price with alchemists. How does 9 septums sound? Hey, you shrug. That's more than any bloody organ dug out of your own body is worth. Actually, she says Kashi Hearts retail with alchemists for around 15 gold. Wow, that's You could have comfortably gone your whole life without knowing that. McFrugal wrote, sell the ghost cloak! It's made of ectoplasm, that's a valuable reagent. Brainstorm wrote, so that ghost cloak thing, if the shopkeeper can't sell it at a unique clothing article, she could at least sell it for that ectoplasm stuff. Code Spark wrote, can the shopkeeper see the cloak that the ghost gave you? If so, you may be able to sell it to her. So the last time I read this, I remember freaking out about the ectoplasm thing because I was regularly getting ectoplasm and Elder Scrolls Online, and I thought it was completely useless. I was just selling it or destroying it, and then found out it's a reagent, and I have yet to actually try that because I stopped getting ectoplasm because Ghost stopped. Next you have this cloak that a ghost was wearing at some point. You aren't sure what size it is, but you can confirm it is larger than a woman's small, so yeah, that doesn't narrow it down at all. So there's a naked ghost running around now? The shopkeeper asked. What? No, he had an extra cloak. I didn't. It was a joke, she says. Anyway, ectoplasm is hard to come by, and traveling mages are always looking for a safe source. She'll give you, say, 12 septums for it. Reginald wrote, remember, whichever way you choose to go about this, you still need to get clue with her book. Joe wrote, be sure to get 35 septums for the grammar book. You were, hoping for a little bit more, actually? That's enough for some supplies, but just in case your work doesn't pan out, you were hoping to have a little bit set aside to repay a debt to a friend, like 35 gold. Do you have anything else to sell? The shopkeeper asked. Not unless she's in the market for a scrap of bread or a tiny pouch of chopped cilantro. Koryu wrote, hey, didn't your partner leave a spear in the shop? Better consider borrowing it if you don't intend to hold onto it yourself. Screech the rat wrote, kindly inquire about the spear. Your friend Razira has left it for you. If needed, sell it to obtain the clothes. Regalian wrote, inquire on the whereabouts of Rajira's spear. Sell it! Ideally for magica potions. What about the spear Rajira left behind? You ask. What about it? The shopkeeper asked. Well, she left it behind. Also, she used it to lock me in a room to die. Doesn't that basically make it mine? Rajira never actually gave it to you, she points out. Also, she left it behind on store premises. If anything, the shopkeeper says it should be considered her spear. Yeah, but when she ran away, she lied to you and said she had given it to me? Given that it was the only thing she told anyone on the topic, that would imply I'm the closest thing that spear has to an intended owner. There's also the issue of need. This whole time I've been a serial, I haven't once had some proper steel to defend myself with. If at all possible, I'd like to lead a sword fully equipped to handle whatever thing this dangerous world might throw my... Alright, the shopkeeper says. You win, the spear's yours. I'd like to sell the spear, and I'm very sorry. 20 septums, the shopkeeper grumbles, and you're lucky you're getting that much. Is that everything the shopkeeper has? It's late, and now that she can actually get some rest, she'd like to close up. Minmus wrote, do you need that amulet anymore? Wait, you say, I have something else. Just hypothetically, not hypothetically. What can I get for this? Well, now that you've broken the... Less now that you've broken the clasp, she says. It's a drama clasp! You just pull on it really fast and it clicks open. I used to have some outfits that... Never mind. The amulet is enchanted, you explain. It tastes more like it's cursed, she says. I think that's... silence? Well, yeah, you guess it's kind of cursed, too. The Mage's Guild gave it to you back when you first learned you had powers. Destruction magic is apparently driven by strong emotions or something, and anytime you felt hurt or dehumanized, your magic will start to trigger whether you wanted it to or not. The Amulet of Silence was how you kept it reined in. You guess those are still the same sort of feelings you draw when you use your magic, but you think you've gotten better at feeling them on your own terms. I mean, lately you've been able to whip up some fire feelings pretty much whenever you need them, and you guess more importantly, you're no longer breaking down in tears over every little joke that reminds you that you'll never be something you can see as a person. It's weird to admit, but you think you might actually have this under control at least as much as the amulet did, and on top of that, you think you need to show yourself you have it under control. If you're going to be a real wizard, it's time you take off the dorky safety hat and start acting like one. Safety hat? You mean helmet? She asked. No, I mean, like those little... Okay, yeah, I guess those are still called helmets. Huh. Well, either way, she's afraid it's standard policy to turn down ordinary cursed items, even ones with potential uses. It's probably for the best, though. It sounds like this is something with sentimental value to you, and she wouldn't want to... Drama Llama wrote, dramatically cast away your amulet of silence as a symbolic gesture to prove you'll never again hold yourself back from achieving things. Naga wrote, Karate chop! There! Now it's an empty amulet. People can, like, put their own birthstones in it or something to personalize it. Fair enough, she says. For a plain old bronze amulet with a special class, you'll do, say, 14 septums? Sean Brush wrote, gotta get break-in supplies from shopkeeper. Surely a grappling hook and some rope will come in handy. Namari wrote, also some food. Food is always good. Zeon wrote, inspect the book's content. Be sure that the book is interesting and not about something unreadable or unpleasant. Perfect. Alright, I'll need 35 in gold. Yesterday you said the rope costs about 3. I'll take a bundle of that. This book is, ooh, Fundamentals of Alchemy? How much for it? The shopkeeper says the Night Writing Edition should probably cost a preposterous amount extra, but at 5 years without a buyer, she might as well do the standard price, 5 septums. You'll take it. Also, you really need something to drink. Well, there's some cheap mead for 1 septum. Grape juice, you interrupt. And, assuming you still have a coin left after that, a sweet roll. Here, this is for the trouble. Pickle Loaf wrote, am I missing something, or is 10 gold kind of expensive for a regular outfit? It's a nice outfit! Also, you might have requested a few long-desired additions that drove up its price. There's a bra now. Sakura wrote, this is all very lovely, but shouldn't you be on your way now? Not trying to rush you, but the night won't last forever. Cool Kid wrote, yo, Kadia, how you gonna carry all that stuff? Reversal Mushroom wrote, are you really gonna go through with this? Chug, chug, chug. Kadia, infiltrate. And that's where I'm going to stop at, because the infiltrate thing turns out to be a mini-game that I've definitely never done before, but also the episode is long enough on its own merit. So the next episode we're going to do the mini-game. Hopefully it'll be sooner, since my computer didn't freak the fuck out this time. So, this has been Anashi Sasuke. This was Let's Read Prequel. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you'll need to do either one of those things. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well, so that you're notified when the next episode goes up. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.